Regional Transportation Commission Board of Directors. Ms. Quigley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Your first item is to take your agenda, which is in order and ready for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your second item is to receive the General Manager's report, and we do have a few items to share with you. First of all, we would like to say welcome to our new board members, Mayor Carolyn Goodman and Mayor Rod Woodbury. We are excited to have you on our board. We've met with both of you. You both come with keen understanding as to what the RTC is, what we do, and you both have shown us that you've got some passion and interest for our vision and what we're working on, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you very much. We'd like to recognize some of our drivers. First of all, we have Baracchio Ordonez, who actually is not able to be here with us today, and unfortunately he had a family emergency, but we do want to recognize his outstanding services to our paratransit customers and our contractor, Transdev. We'll recognize him at a future board meeting. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize an employee of our safety and security contractor, Allied Barton. Please help me congratulate Officer Rashawn Washington. If Rashawn is in the audience, if you can come down. Come on. Oh, okay. He's being shy. On May 28th, 2015, Rashawn responded to a customer at the Bonneville Transit Center who was complaining of chest pains. The officer immediately called for medical assistance and continued to attend to the customer's needs until medical arrived and was transported to UMC. Several days later, the same customer visited the Bonneville Transit Center to personally thank the officer and those who assisted him during his crisis. The individual shared with us that he had been visiting Las Vegas from Miami and had suffered a heart attack shortly after his arrival. Thank you, Rashawn, for going above and beyond for our transit customers.
This way and smile.
Oh, come on. Come on in, John.
It's going to blame the traffic.
Yeah.
Floods.
Here we go. Look this way. Thank you.
Yeah, have, oh.
Here, you should.
I just want to say thank you.
Okay, here we go. We're done. You're right here. Same seat. Deborah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're done. Have a seat. We promised we would come back to you on a quarterly basis with our updated fuel revenue indexing numbers. And we've got some exciting numbers. As of June 30th of this year, so the end of the second quarter, we have awarded 109 contracts. Those 109 contracts have gone to 129 businesses. And we told you that we would do all we could to make sure local and small businesses were getting opportunities. That small businesses were getting opportunities. And we've held true to that. 71 of those 129 contracts have been awarded to small local businesses. So about 55% of the contracts have gone to small local businesses. 100% of the large contracts have gone to local businesses as well. $262 million has been awarded as part of the contract work so far, creating approximately 3,378 jobs. So we continue to grow. Now these numbers are conservative too. I always like to remind people that these are actual FRI numbers, fuel revenue indexing numbers, but actually these dollars have helped other projects move forward. Either we were able to leverage federal dollars to move a project forward, or projects that were on the shelf were able to move forward because they just needed some additional funding. When you add in the additional amount of dollars, it creates additional jobs as well. So these are conservative numbers. We are very lucky, and the bids have so far are coming in under budget, and so we've saved about almost $32 million. So those 199 projects that we told you we were going to be accomplishing as part of this program has increased to a total of 215 projects. So very exciting that we are able to get more bang for our buck than we even expected. One of the groundbreakings that we had this last quarter was in the city of Henderson. They held a groundbreaking ceremony last month for the Stephanie Street Improvement Project. The project includes elevated bicycle and pedestrian features and a bridge on Stephanie Street over US 95, providing access to nearby shopping centers such as the Galleria Mall, Cowabunga Bay, Water Park, and Costco. The project will be completed in March of next year and includes more than $13.3 million in FRI dollars and will create 188 jobs for our local community. And we do have to let you know another exciting news. We don't have a slide for this because this is new, but next Tuesday, July 14th, we'll be celebrating the grand opening of the 215 bridges at Fort Apache Road and Durango Drive. These were one of the very first projects that we had underway as part of the Fuel Revenue Indexing Project, and they are already complete. So very exciting, groundbreaking next week. Last month, you asked us to give you an update on our review of our legislative effort, and Angela Castro is going to give that to you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Angela Castro with the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. Before I provide you this update, I just want to take the time to recognize David Clyde on our staff. David spent majority of the 120 days in Carson City, and he was working directly with legislators, your government affairs staff, and the business community on various pieces of legislation that would have impacted the agency.
And let's just interject. We got to thank his wife too, because she was very pregnant during the whole thing. He has a brand new baby, but yeah, his wife was alone here for.
He is.
David, stand up, David.
We tracked nearly 100 pieces of legislation, and in addition to that, I just wanted to point out that David Clyde has also recently passed the Nevada bar and is officially a practicing attorney in the state of Nevada. So we are incredibly grateful to have him on our team. With that, let me find the clicker. Prior to the legislative session, Tina informed you that we were working very closely with local government and the business community and community leaders as part of the Southern Nevada Forum. And from that forum, we identified Southern Nevada transportation priorities. One of the priorities out of that forum was fuel revenue indexing and ensuring that we combine the two ballot questions into one. I'm happy to report that that did happen, and it was the RTC's main priority this past legislative session. The second priority was dealt with the highway fund, and industry in particular and the business community wanted to ensure that in 2009, due to the recession, money was being diverted from the highway fund and going to the general fund. Moving forward, they wanted to ensure that money was going to be going back to the highway fund. 3 pieces of legislation have provisions in them that is diverting revenue into the highway fund moving forward. SB 483, known as the governor's plan, currently has, for the first year, $31 million going into the highway fund, and then every year after that, approximately $63 million. SB 502, otherwise known as the DMV fee, has $13 million going into the highway fund. And then AB 175, otherwise known as the ride-hailing, allowing ride-hailing companies to operate in Nevada, has an estimated $5 million going to the highway fund. Staff is working very closely with NDOT regarding Southern Nevada's infrastructure and priorities.
Which is code, Rudy, for we're going to be watching where you spend that money, since most of it's generated here in Southern Nevada. Just reminding you.
There were a lot of bills that directly impacted local governments. We're going to focus on, I'm going to focus primarily on bills that maybe your staff did not highlight, but we want to highlight at the RTC. The first bill is the Yellow Dot program. The Yellow Dot program is a public safety initiative where essential medical information can be placed in motorist glove compartments. The RTC has been tasked with developing, implementing, and promoting this program. Our team has started working on the development of this, and we will be launching hopefully within the next quarter. The next bill is the Duty to Defend Clause. That's AB 106, and that prohibits government entities from including a duty to defend clause in a public works contract with a design professional. If the design professional is held to be liable in a lawsuit, a judge or jury can order the design professional to reimburse the public body for a share of the costs incurred. The next bill was Senate Bill 481, which is utility location and modeling. And this bill prohibits local government from creating or maintaining a comprehensive model or map of the location of a substantial portion of facilities within the public utility, from the public utility provider, I'm sorry. The government agency, however, still has the authority to require a utility to provide information on a specific public works project. And the last bill that that came about was the Transit Sovereign Immunity Bill, Senate Bill 478. And this would have, if it passed, extended a modified version of the RTC sovereign immunity onto those who operate the RTC's transit system. This bill never received a vote on the Senate floor. We have about 50 bills that that are impacting local governments that directly impact the RTC. I'd be more than happy to send you that report. I just wanted to give you a brief highlight of what we're interacting with.
Thank you. I was just reading the mapping bill yesterday. So the mapping SB 481. So when we do our surveys for flood or our sewer lines or any of that kind of thing, is that impacted as well? And if so, they just don't want it, is it a security issue and they don't want someone to be able to just go in and zoom in, but we will have access to that still?
Mike Hand will address that.
I was trying to read it, didn't quite make it.
Yeah, it limits a comprehensive overall picture, and it was largely two concerns. Number one, competition, disclosing information to competitors, and then the homeland security issue is what they stated. So we'll be working through the issues associated with that. And we still got to get the business done, still got to get everybody to play nice underground and above ground, so we're going to have to work our way through it.
Yeah, because I know we were surveying all the sewer lines and trying to map them just so we knew where many of them were, because you have old ones and ones that might be potentially for leaks and that type of thing. So I was just curious how that all interacted.
Yeah, it remains to be seen how
Yeah,
that
how we play together.
works out. But we'll, we still got to build stuff, so we'll work our way through it.
And who was the sponsor of the bill, or where did it generate?
Utility companies.
Oh. We need to do a better job of making sure that folks know that the utility companies work for us, not the other way around, in my opinion. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Lee.
Sorry I was late. I was giving a presentation, but I'm happy to be here. I do have a question on this AB 191, fuel indexing. Am I to understand, if maybe Mr. Clyde would be better at this, I don't know, does this bill generate revenue for the rurals and northern Nevada? Because you mentioned something about parity or
Yeah,
something.
this AB 191 requires that each county have their own vote. And that vote will ask each county, do you want to tie motor vehicle fuel tax to inflation? Or in Clark County's case, do you want to continue tying motor vehicle fuel tax to inflation? Of course, the money that's generated off of that is the local money, will stay local. The money that is generated off of that related to the state is required to be spent in the county of origin. So even though NDOT, there'll be a portion that will go to NDOT for state facilities, it has to be spent in Clark County. That is part of the legislation. So we're okay.
So your question was to the Department of Transportation to make sure we got our fair share, or we got our...
Well, we want to make sure that since this is collected locally, we certainly want to make sure that it is reinvested locally. Now, if the rurals choose to tax themselves, so if they choose to pass this in their county, then any money generated through gas sales in their county will stay in their county.
So how will you account for, okay, we know this revenue was generated in southern Nevada.
Correct?
And we got X amount of dollars back. How do you perceive that happening?
Well, the way that it works is it is collected by the distributors. It is paid to the DMV, and then the DMV is the warehouse, the accountant, that then
forwards it back to the counties.
Do they get to take off an administrative fee
They
or
do.
anything off that?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yeah. And as well as the distributors. The distributors do keep a bit of overhead administrative fee as well.
Okay, and so this is every month, every quarter, every year? Do you know how it'll be?
It is on a, I think it's remitted on a monthly basis. Yeah.
So then you have some assurances that Southern Nevada dollars will stay in Southern Nevada and
On
rural?
this particular effort, I do.
Okay, thank you. It's just a new bill, Rudy. I just want to figure out, how it works. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that, or?
No, just to reiterate what Tina said, that DMV keeps close tabs on county by county, assuming that it goes forward. They already had to set that up for Clark County when it was enacted here, so they would continue that same system, and I asked them about how would you do it if it passes in other counties, and they said they got it covered.
So is this going to detract NDOT from putting money in projects for Southern Nevada because this money's coming? Will it augment? That'd be my point.
It will add to, so we're going to continue doing the projects that, and being wary of how much is spent down here, so it's an equitable amount. And then this would be on top of that additional revenue. We've done some rough calculations for the state portion that would continue, by law, in this case of the fuel revenue indexing, to be spent in the county of origin.
Okay, I guess my point is on your budget. I want to, so we can augment our budgets to drop a little bit to Clark County because they're already getting this money. How will we make sure that we keep those revenues when all of a sudden this money isn't becoming used to show profit to this county where we're actually losing state dollars to the county? Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying?
Yes. So what we've been doing with our base revenue is to make sure that there's an equitable distribution. We've been doing a lot of capacity projects down here, as well as some preservation projects on the state highways that are local streets that NDOT owns. So we'll continue to do that, and this would be money on top of that that must go to Clark County. So we'll track all that and coordinate with RTC as we get our work program presented to the RTC on an annual basis, as you'll see in item 26, the state-funded dollars that go to.
We just don't want it to have an
projects.
unhealthy balance where it's not fair to everyone else too. You know what I mean? We want to see the rurals and everybody get their fair share, but I appreciate that. Does that answer my question, I guess? And you're satisfied? Yes. All right, thank you.
Yes, Rudy knows that we always love to pay attention to his numbers and where the money's going, so I appreciate. And I do that because Rudy, my board asks me regularly these questions, so yes, all right.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Just to follow up to that, very good points. And NDOT, I think, has been a better partner over the years, so I do appreciate that it's an augmentation and not reducing it on one end and then adding to it on the other side. The other key piece, though, that I don't think we should forget about is part of the intent of this legislation was there were going to be two votes, one for the state, one for us. And that was confusing, or they were concerned about it being confusing to the public. So they changed what they did last session, and we get to word it for state to continue in the county and then add the state. So it'll be less confusing for the voters, I think, in the long run. And that's very key to its passage, in my opinion. So that was another reason they did that part. And then down the road, so to speak, and I know, Tracy, we've been trying to get together, I still think part of our conversation should be how to have the state turn over its highways, its in-town highways, to the local governments like Charleston, Flamingo, Tropicana, bring those up to some kind of standard, and then turn them over, and then maybe you all deal with the Beltway. But we need to have that conversation now that the legislature's over and start focusing on how that can come about, because it affects every single jurisdiction. I see the city's improving right now on Charleston, some crosswalks and medians and those things, but really that's a state highway, so I don't know if you're funding it, they're funding it, but there's just some median work that needs to come into place. So I think part of it is, I think there's a new committee or a committee that's been formed to make sure that NDOT and all the folks are all talking to each other before a project goes in, so that if we've got to tear something up, for example, we've got Flamingo going in, if there's anything that's needed, because that's a state highway, that we don't do it twice and we don't tear things up twice. I am going to ask Rudy that as your folks are doing medians, they're going to be doing Tropicana Avenue, I believe, for just phase one. Phase two is the ADA part. that if you don't have the financing in the medians, I'd like to explore either coloring the cement. I'm tired of my older areas looking with black asphalt. It looks like garbage. It just looks like crap. And so either coloring that or working or doing something similar what the city's doing where it's not requiring water lines, but doing some of the public art components along it. So I would appreciate if you would have that conversation with your staff along those lines. We did have a meeting maybe a month ago with them and they were open to it, but I don't think they think the funding's there. It doesn't cost you any more to do it, and we actually have some public art money to be able to put something into place. So I think that's just some other things that we as the local governments need to weigh in on and be a little bit more proactive on that part.
Commissioner, would you like the RTC to start organizing some conversations related to that, or are those conversations already underway?
You know, we held off. We had a meeting, a year ago, I think, up here, just with some of the legislators, and I think it was even before Tracy, I think Mary Martini was here for that one. I'm happy to however you want to do it, because it actually affects every single one of our jurisdictions as we look at that road tie over. I mean, in my mind, we were looking at Sahara. You all put money in through the BRT. That was really something that should have been upgraded by NDOT, so maybe the value of that could be decided and then returned to the agency to use someplace else. And so there's different ways that we could look at it where it's a cost benefit to everybody.
So
I don't know, Mr. Chair, I just bring that up, but I think it's probably now that the legislature's settled and everybody's kind of back home, maybe we should start to have that. And I know we were trying to set something up with Tracy in the group, but I can't remember if we did or not.
Okay. I'll follow up with Tracy, but
do you
yes,
mind? Tracy's
you have brought
here,
this up a few times, and so I want to make sure that we don't drop the ball anymore on this. We need
No,
to,
nobody dropped the ball. We
okay.
decided it was too insane to try to focus on all the legislative process at the same time.
Okay.
So,
Hi, this is Tracy Larkin with Nevada DOT. I wanted to say we do have several ones in progress right now. We are talking about exchanging Summerlin for Rancho Charleston. I can't remember the 3rd Street.
right.
And we're also talking about transferring of a street up in Mesquite, the Riverside Road. And then we've got many going on and we're trying to take them at a pace that we can actually absorb them and do the right-of-way with it. So the discussions are ongoing, and we've just started setting up a next round of meeting with all the board members here. I think I've got 3 of them set up, and we'll further discuss them in each jurisdiction when we come over.
Okay. So we should make sure RTC is involved in that, and probably our public works people as we have those kinds of meetings, so we know what other questions might pop up. So I appreciate that you're working towards that, but I personally would like to say, okay, where are we at? Let's look at a map. What's out there? What's the potential? Those types of things. So,
Certainly, and we'll also discuss with you when we meet you the things that we take into consideration and we look over. So a number of the ones like where we're looking at Summerlin and on there, we're looking at the regional flood control issues, who's still going to manage those, who's managing the local ones, local drainage with the roadway, except for the landscaping. So we've got a couple of details to work through. And
absolutely, and then I think the collaboration and communication is really important because, for example, I think NDOT has a project going, but the staff didn't realize, because Blanca and Mary Beth Scow's office raised it, that there was another project going, and they didn't know, and it was going to, if you close that road down, there was no other road that was going to be available for people to travel on, and they didn't realize we had that project and that so those are the types of things we need to make sure.
That is actually a big issue that's coming up. You have so many great, FRI projects out there. We have a couple large projects coming out there, and we are looking at the timing of each of them because they're going to be closing off a lot of major arterials and condensing them. And all of a sudden, you're going to have Flamingo closed, Tropicana closed.
Eastern, yeah, exactly. So those are some of the things, Mr. Chair, that I think we can work through. Thank you.
Good comments. So, Tina, why don't we have RTC at least take the lead or coordinate this dialogue?
Okay. We'll go ahead and set something up, and we'll report back to you regularly on the progress of the effort.
Councilwoman.
I just wanted her to repeat that first sentence she made. I didn't quite get it. It was, you were going to exchange what for Rancho? And I didn't know what you meant by exchange. A project?
I can respond.
Oh,
So
okay.
as a road transfer for NDOT would take over Summerlin Parkway from the city of Las Vegas. We would transfer state highways that we own, are Charleston, Rancho, and I think a 3rd road that was not as substantial in length. Portions of Fremont. Okay. So
Well,
there was
that's
basically a road
wonderful to know.
transfer.
That's wonderful to know. Thank you for introducing that. And you know, the median improvement, Chris, that median improvement started in Ward 1 on Valley View, a short distance on Valley View, and then we went to Charleston, which was the state. I mean, the state operates Charleston, but we did it. The city paid for all of that, as I recall. We paid for all of that. Now, on Sahara, was it NDOT that covered the cost of the medians? No, RTC. It was the state or NDOT? RTC. Not NDOT, I meant RTC, thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman, it was RTC.
So RTC did it, so that we didn't have anything from NDOT. Gee, I was giving you a lot of credit there, and should have, good. Okay, I was just wondering, because I will tell you, that improvement in the medians has been such a wonderful thing for the citizens feeling, you know, maybe we're not Summerlin, but we are somebody who can have beautiful streets. And that concrete is hard to get rid of. We had some neon green there for a while. I haven't figured out what else we can do with it, although we did get rid of the neon green. But they are so proud of that and more proud of their communities. We've been able to do some, of course, that are not state streets too. So we're very proud of it. I'm glad you like it. And I want to give credit to the artists that work within the departments here, within the city, because we thought of the idea to save water, but they thought of the idea of all that beauty that they have. And if you notice, Charleston was just the beginning. If you go out, for example, to Antelope, it's even better. Every one they do is better than the last one, so they're getting great. Okay.
Where are we? Thank you. We're on to agenda item.
I think we finished our legislative update.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Your next item is item number 3, which is to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report.
Thank you, Tina, Mr. Chairman, and board members. Wanted to start out with regarding the Sahara project. That is one that NDOT is paying for the repaving, so we are contributing a substantial amount for that portion of the work. So it is a partnership with RTC on that project. There is an autonomous vehicle summit that.
Rudy?
Yes.
Let's make sure, because this is going to be an issue.
I just want to clarify, I think he's referring to Flamingo.
I'm sorry, Flamingo.
Yeah.
Flamingo, okay.
You're right.
All right, we want to make sure, because your report card has started.
That was, okay. I misspoke. That was Flamingo BRT. Sahara, we already did. Autonomous Vehicle Summit that Tracy Larkin is setting up will be held here in Las Vegas November 3rd and 4th, and the governor will be giving a welcome speech. It was based on board direction to look into, since Nevada is one of the first states to have laws related to autonomous vehicles, to build on that and try to attract more interest from industry that is in that autonomous vehicle sector. Yes.
Thank you. What is an autonomous vehicle? Is
So
that like the Google driverless?
Yes.
I rode in that 5 years ago.
Oh,
They couldn't get any other politician. I must have been off my brain, but it was really pretty. But it was really cool, I have to admit. It went through school zones and knew to slow down. We went through the Spaghetti Bowl and got on access. It's kind of freaky to sit there and have no one driving, but we were the test case. Okay, so they're
Yes.
looking at that part of it. Oh,
exactly.
Cool.
The good news on the issue of federal funding, that in the Senate, the Environmental and Public Works Committee, which Senator Heller is on, has introduced the DRIVE Act, and that's a 6-year transportation bill. Senator Heller was successful in getting his I-11 language designating I-11 from the Arizona-Mexico border all the way up to I-80 in northern Nevada. So it would be a high priority corridor for the federal funding. We're glad that it's a 6-year bill. It gives us, once it's passed and funded, it will give us assurance of federal funding for years to come. Also includes adjustments for inflation of up to about 2.5%. And there's a modest increase in funding for a national freight program and replacing the Tiger Grant program with one that's projects would be selected by Congress, so it's called the AMP program. But the funding for that program is less than Tiger has been historically. Tiger's been 600 or 500 million the last couple of years, and this would be 300 million nationally. So unfortunately, it does cut the funding for that type of discretionary grant program. But it's good news in that they are talking about it. A separate committee in the Senate will have to figure out how to fund it, because it is an increase in revenue needed to fund it. But we're pleased that they're at least having that discussion, and the House will take similar measures to come up with their version of a transportation bill nationally, and they'll reconcile that. And we appreciate Senator Heller's efforts, and as well as the rest of our delegation. Appreciate the update on the State Highway Fund impacts from the RTC staff. It is significant. One correction was that the GST, or governmental services tax revenue, doesn't hit the first year, it hits the second year. So the 31 million comes the second year of the biennium, and then the 63 million is the third year and beyond. So a substantial amount of money the governor's asked us to come up with, and obviously we'll collaborate with RTC on identifying the projects that will be done. So to keep that equity in the forefront of the board's mind as well. The US 95 3A project is what we're calling it. It's the interchange of 215 Beltway and US 95 in the northwest. That project's going to have a groundbreaking event August 6th. That project was awarded by the board, and we're going to have a public meeting to kind of explain, because that US 95 widening has been implemented in phases. It'll give the public a good information meeting about what the interchange will look like when it's all completed. This US 95 3A phase builds two direct connect ramps. So if you're heading west on 215 and want to go south on 95, you can go directly on this ramp in the future. And then if you're going north on 95 and want to go east on the Beltway, it would have another direct connect ramp. You wouldn't have to get off the 95 and get back on the Beltway. So good projects. It'll inform the public about what we're doing and what the future phases are. And I wanted to mention that NDOT recently received a great ruling from the Supreme Court, at Nevada Supreme Court, on it was called the Ad America case. This has significant impacts not only to NDOT, but also to other public entities that use eminent domain to acquire property, or to even go through your planning processes to develop your projects to deliver. The district court had ruled that NDOT, in effect, took the property from the property owner back years prior to when we would normally give an offer to buy the property. Just by our planning actions and development of the project, the district court ruled that we took it earlier. We'd have to pay what the value was plus interest for several years that we didn't anticipate. So once we received that district court decision, we took it to the Supreme Court, appealed it there, and won. So it reverses the district court decision, and it saves us. Our Chief Deputy Attorney General estimates about $40 million in impact from that one case, let alone how it would affect us if it was a precedence on other cases. So significant not only to NDOT, but other public entities that buy private property for their projects. I wanted to close by mentioning that item 26 is presented in your consent agenda, and it has the state-funded projects, mainly maintenance type of preservation projects that are going to be done here in Clark County. The federal funded projects, I wanted to point out that those normally come through the RTC as a regular process anyways, that you do see those federally funded projects, but the purpose of item 26 is to present what some of the state-funded projects are for maintenance and preservation primarily, but there's some other types of projects. You'll notice that there was one about putting some grates on storm drains to prevent people from getting in there, because we're having encampments or people kind of living into box culverts in some cases. So it's becoming a challenge to keep those areas clean and available for when you have this flash flooding situation that we currently have, and it is important for the folks that are getting into those box culverts, for their safety as well, to keep them out of there. Because a flash flood can happen, if you've seen across the valley, can happen at a moment's notice. That concludes my director's report, and available to answer any questions.
Comments or questions? I have a few. So the item 26 is our work program. What about the budget for NDOT projects down here? And we talked earlier about the equity issue. Has there an indication in the budget that was approved what percentages are going to be spent down in Southern Nevada on what projects? Do we have that information?
We can provide that information.
Why don't we, if we would, not spend time today on that, but could you do a PowerPoint for us at the August meeting?
Yes, it's contained in our NDOT fact book, and we'll present that at the August meeting.
Okay, appreciate that. And I'd like to pick up where Commissioner G and Mayor Lee spoke on earlier, Rudy. This ballot initiative, tremendous. A lot of people put in a lot of work to get it consolidated, and it's the right thing to do. In that, NDOT is now a true partner with the RTC. This is a Clark County initiative, and bringing you in to our agency is a bigger ask than we've ever had with NDOT, because the credibility of our agency now is going to be shared with NDOT moving forward on this initiative. And I can't emphasize, and you heard some of the earlier comments, that the communication, the facts, the PowerPoints, the projects, they have to clearly indicate that Southern Nevada is getting not only its fair share, but priority on some of the critical projects down here. Can't understate that. And the relationship, as Commissioner G said, has improved dramatically with you on this board, but the ask is going to be even greater. We are going to hold you and your Southern Nevada team to a higher standard. Our expectations are going to be, I think, a lot tougher than the state board's expectations. And this is the forum that we discuss this in. But I want to literally have today as the beginning, because we have a very, very short window, probably a year, maybe less, to build up that credibility, to build up that message to the community that this is where these dollars are going. The FRI was a great example where this board and this community, we made commitments. And as we heard from Tina's update, we're fulfilling those commitments. We need that same fulfillment from NDOT. Because if either the RTC or NDOT fails, or our credibility is put into question over the next 16 months, then the ballot initiative fails. And the infrastructure is going to get set back years. So I would just ask on behalf of this board, on behalf of the RTC, that we step up our game. That there's going to be a lot of pressure, both political and from the community, and the communication is key. We absolutely have to break down the bureaucracy. We have to break down this perception of the inequity. What's done, you know the track record in the past. It's horrible. But the last few years we've seen the turnaround. And now, in that turnaround, we have to take it to a new level. If we're going to convince this community to support this initiative, we need NDOT at the front of the line with RTC. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely, we understand that, and we're going to continue to be partners in that effort. The Project Neon that's coming out that's bonded is going to be under construction next year. So we definitely want to have a lot of projects delivered underway down here, but also make it clear to the public about what the equity issue is being addressed through.
And that's a good point, Rudy. Let me also say that between the senior team down here, Tony, everybody that's doing that messaging publicly, when we talk about a Project Neon or the US 95 3A, we as the RTC and the NDOT, this partnership needs to be saying the same thing. in a positive way, the jobs created, the impacts, both adverse but future benefits. We can't have any kind of conflicting message from NDOT or RTC, be it a specific NDOT project or a specific FRI project. Those messages have to be received by our community as unified. And again, I put a lot of emphasis on that communication. It has to be there, because all it takes is a weak link in the RTC or the NDOT, and we're going to be facing an uphill battle. And on that happy note, we'll move forward.
Okay, game on. It's going to be fun. Your next agenda item is to conduct your first citizens participation period.
This is the first time set aside for public comment. Those wishing to speak on a posted agenda item today, this is your opportunity. And those wishing to speak later at the second public comment period, you're welcome to fill out a card. So we don't have any agenda item. Well, maybe we do. Agenda topic number 1, Christina Lodge.
Good morning, Commissioners. As you stated, my name is Christina Lodge. I'm the Program Director for Linda Hand in Boulder City, and I believe you were given a brochure of ours for those of you who don't know who we are.
Christina, I'm sorry. So these are all going to be related to those consent agenda items with all the contracts?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand now.
Is this the right time?
Yes, it is.
Okay. As many of you already know, those of us who live in Boulder City kind of think it's a special place. As director at Linda Hand, I see on a daily basis just how special a community it is, especially because of the services that we have for our seniors. And because of the services that we can offer, the RTC has been a great partner and a great funder for us. You have allowed us to serve those seniors who are absolutely homebound, who can no longer drive to get to the market and so on. And I thank you that once again you have chosen to fund us. It is because of this funding that we are able to offer a stipend of a reimbursement for driving to those volunteers who might not otherwise be able to volunteer for us because of the fuel expense. Also, because of the funding that RTC has given to the Silver Rider bus in Boulder City, we've been able to partner with that bus, and we are now providing twice monthly rides through their service to Henderson so that these same seniors can get to Walmart once a month and to one of several other shopping centers such as Target, Sprouts, the ladies love Hobby Lobby, and other stores like that that are close within those shopping centers. So once again, I say thank you. We really do appreciate, and it makes our ability to serve these seniors much easier.
Thank you, Christina. Christina, could you come back just for a sec? We had a quick question.
Thank you. I didn't hear. How many seniors do you serve?
We currently have 305 seniors.
Fantastic. You got a great restaurant up there called the Scratch House, too. Maybe you could take them over, too.
Anna Talamo? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Anna Talamo. I'm from Southern Nevada Transit, or as Christine said, it's Silver Rider of Boulder City. I'm the Director of Operations, and I just wanted to thank you because of the funding and the support we get from the RTC. We're able to fund the paratransit, the Veterans Program, and the Senior Transit programs in our rural counties. We currently are moving 6,200 rides a month, and we wouldn't be able to provide this service if it wasn't for the funding. So I wanted to come down and thank everyone for help funding and supporting us through the years. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Kopak? Kopak. Morning, David.
Morning, how are you? I'm with Acres Transportation of Nevada. We serve within the ATS contract, which was just renewed, and I'm here on the behalf of our company, the team that I serve with, to thank the board and RTC, especially Antoinette, who has been wonderful to us for the last year and a half, and we just now re-upped our contract with you guys. So what we do is we serve the disabled community, adults with disabilities, the ones who are more low functioning and maybe have higher behavioral, and we serve them Monday through Friday, going back and forth from program to work or house to work. And it's because of the RTC and their funding that's helped us be able to support approximately 4,000 rides a month to be able to do this. So on behalf of our company, we thank you guys very much.
Thank you. And from Opportunity Village, we have more, Laura? Moreau.
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Mauro, like tomorrow without the two. Okay, does that help?
Well, good
I'm
morning.
Mauro
Thank
Lara.
you,
Good
Mauro.
morning, everybody. I
Thank
am with
you.
Opportunity Village, and it looks like this is the day of thank yous. Okay, so I'm very, very grateful to be here, and I'm very happy. I want to thank Tina. I want to thank MJ. I want to thank the staff at RTC, and certainly the board for the continuing partnership that we've developed in serving people with disabilities in our community. What this program does in providing this transportation that's on the agenda today is it provides an additional sense of dignity and respect and independence that we are contributing to the people that we serve. So thank you very much. It's just a very quick, very quick moment, and I appreciate the time.
Mauro, thank you. If I could, Council, if I may, the Alternative Transportation Services Program. MJ, just give a brief synopsis for our new board members. This is one of the best things that we do here at the RTC.
We know that there's more demand than there are resources, and we decided to take how could we creatively address this situation in terms of helping folks that either fall outside the service area or some of the nonprofits that really just don't have the funding. And so we came up with something called ATS, Alternative Transportation Solutions. And we are proud to say we've got multiple partners that we assist either with local money or with a match in federal funding to assist them in transporting those folks that really need our services. So it's worked really well. And by the way, we save money in doing that because they are able to take some rides that our core provider would be servicing, and they're doing it more efficiently for less money. So it's a win-win all the way around.
It's a great public-private partnership, and these agencies go across the spectrum. Age groups, backgrounds, handicaps. It's just wonderful. Anyone else wishing to speak on a specific agenda item? Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Goodman. Come on, please.
All right, I really just wanted to make a statement because I think our population is going to grow, and especially in this area, as we're trying to take care of our veteran population, most specifically our seniors, are disadvantaged. I hope as you go forward with your budgets that this increases. There's going to be an increase, and it's very evident. And having known about this wonderful services, the services that have been offered, if we mimic some of the larger cities and we look to what they're doing, we need to increase that budget allocation, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for your patience.
No problem. I didn't sign a card. Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor Goodman. I was interested in the legislation for the immunity for transportation. I just barely caught what you said. So could you explain that, what the immunity for the transportation, who operates the buses, or? I forgot what item that was.
Sure, we can go ahead and get with her after the meeting. We'll explain sovereign immunity, the concept of.
Oh, okay.
It was in the legislative report.
Yeah,
You want to do it?
I can meet with you after.
Okay.
Would you mind staying afterwards and we can get into a lot more detail?
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi, my name is is Kathy Posada. I'm the director of Baby Boomers. I would like to thank especially Commissioner Larry Brown for not letting us down and keeping your promise of helping the adult daycare. Working with MJ, Antoinette, and Dan, Kenneth, we are amazingly grateful because we are keeping our elderly and disabled safe through our partnership with RTC. So in behalf of Howard and Chris that is not here, thank you for your help.
And thank you, Howard, thank you for what you do. Anyone else wishing to speak on a specific agenda item? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close this portion of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Next is your consent agenda, which is comprised of items 5 through 67 and may be taken in one motion.
So moved.
Motion on the floor for approval of the consent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your next item is item number 68, which is to discuss confidential matters related to the Service Employees International Union contract negotiations with management. That will be in the back room, and you may want to consider taking item number 69 out of order so that anybody who's wishing to speak to the board can do so without having to wait while we go back.
Okay. For those of you, we will be going into closed-door session to talk by statute on the bargaining unit. So we will take our second public comment period now. Those wishing to speak to the board, now is your opportunity. Please state your name for the record. Mickey Easley? I wouldn't have made you walk all the way back.
Good morning. We meet again, Commissioners and Mayor Goodman. Wanted to give you an update on the union. My name is Mickey. I am now the new ATU local vice president. I've been elected. So I'm coming to help now. So I wanted to give you an update. ATU and Keolis have reached an agreement. We do have a CBA finally. We're waiting our date with MV, should probably be August 27th, but we're waiting to get that confirmed through our legal counsel. I do have a couple of issues. It's been brought to my attention by several of my line instructors at the Keolis yard. They're pushing through these new drivers. When I came through, we had to do 80 hours of driving time. Now it's been dropped down to 63. A lot of these drivers are not ready to go on the road. They're not ready to be passed through training. Line instructors have come and complained to me and others that they've complained about some of the students that they're training. They're not listening, they're speeding, and it's causing problems. But they're being passed on from line instructor to line instructor. And, you know, I have family that rides public transportation as well as I know some of you do. And these people are going to be liabilities out there after a while. So that is a real safety and training concern, and it's being passed. But, you know, I spoke with Drew, the head of safety and training director who was in town, and they were supposed to get back with me on this. And no one's gotten back with me about this because this is a real concern for all involved. And the buses say owned by RTC, so who do you think these people are going to be coming after, you know, if something happens? They're going to be coming after you along with the company, and that's, you know, not fair if we can stop it before these people get out on the road. So I'm just asking you if you guys can inquire about the driving time that these students are in to make sure if they're ready. If they're not ready, don't put them out there in these big old buses with the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Carolyn Higgins? Good morning.
Good morning, mayors, commissioners, and RTC. I am here this morning pleading to all of you guys, in addition to the companies that operate public transportation. My main concern is, number one, we have laws for guns, and for Southern Nevada, you have different laws for the guns. Right now, in fact, what concerned me, and I was asked to come before you guys, is that we had a driver who could see a concealed weapon as he was strapping on a handicapped passenger. Now, it wasn't the passenger that was handicapped. He just happened to look over and he saw a concealed weapon. We have no guidelines, or in fact, no rules that will prohibit weapons on the buses, guns. And this is to protect our passengers and drivers. I thought about it. I said, well, when we get on the airplane, we can't have guns. And that is for the safety of everyone. Now we're up against Homeland Security, ISIS, all of the folks who want to come to the United States and do what they would like to do to us. We'd never know that it may be one of ISIS or someone terrorizing on our buses, and all of a sudden the gun go off. I'm just pleading to you guys to just kind of look at that and maybe come up with something, as, like I said, the commissioners, RTC, and all three companies that you represent, Transdev, MV, and Keolis, to have signage to not allow the everyday Joe Blow or the terrorists to enter our buses with weapons. This driver said it was unsafe for him because he had that fear. He was watching the roads and also watching this passenger, not knowing what this passenger is going to do with this concealed weapon on him. So that's it. And my name is Carolyn, ATU. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, Mayor Lee.
Just for your information, ma'am, that's a very good question. Basically, the state just passed a preemption law that says all gun-related laws now will be handled as the state, because North Las Vegas has pawn shop gun bills and all this kind of stuff, and it was all over everywhere. That would be something you would work with your state legislature on, because this board no longer has that authority. But it is an issue you raise. I don't think the terrorist is going to pay attention to what's said there, but that would be the place to go to give that discussion merit. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you. Maybe staff could do a briefing or a point on that, because I do think public safety, you need to be protected as well as the other clients on that system. And Mayor Lee's right. We have to undo a bunch of our ordinances, but I don't know. I know they, in my opinion, stupidly expanded it to allow foster parents to have guns on site, which just puts kids at risk. But there may be some ways that we can take a look at a safety ordinance for posting or something, even if it says we no longer can say this. Unfortunately, people are allowed to carry concealed weapons. I mean, so people are at least aware. I don't know what we can do or not do anymore, but maybe staff could take a look at what we're permitted to be able to do. That would be acceptable.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
We'll direct council to
Mr.
take a look
Chairman?
at
Yeah,
that.
we'll direct
Mayor
council
Goodman?
to do that.
I would just like to concur with that. I think there discussion needs to happen, and maybe that belongs in municipalities or in the county commission. The discussion needs to happen because this is a whole different world we're living in now, and this community is absolutely zero if we're not safe. Everything we're talking about, roadways, everything else, pales. If we are not safe, you might as well close this city down. So I would encourage that you move forward with the conversation. And Carolyn, thank you. I'm so glad you are Carolyn.
We'll have council take a look at. Now, Mr. Christoph is making a presentation. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? I'll have Mr. Christoph be our final speaker.
Chairman, I hope you'll give me a little extra time. I have a hearing deficiency. I can hear you pretty good here. I'm here today because something that's been going on since the mayor now of North Las Vegas, Mr. Lee, as well as Madam Carol Goodman, Oscar Goodman, who made a pledge. The pledge was in 2008 of the first big accident on Boulder Highway and Flamingo. We had 2 different meetings where the individuals who survived came in, as the mayor here understands, as well as I think Madam Mayor Husband might explain. The mayor said, I do not want to ever see this kind of a problem or accident at our bus shelters. That's been in my back of my mind for years. It's coming to 8 years now. There's an article in the paper by a great reporter in the Sun, Joe Scudamanda, wrote a great article, and Mayor, Your Honor, made many different supporting concerns on that. I'm not holding you to that, but to the fact that 8 years and all this legal stuff and what's going on, we're depriving the people, the low-income people, because nobody in their right mind in the upper level who would be at the bus shelters. It's one of the worst places to make connections from one place to another. So I don't blame you. But the reality is, on the article says, and I gave you the documentation, main bus stop, and then the first part of it says very in front, by the RTC. There must be a better way to protect people at bus stop. I have something here. It's just a remnant of engineers from California where they built these bus shelters. Now, all I know is they got some new ones and we got a lot of old ones. But to solve the problem of safety of these people sitting in this iron cage where they cannot get out the back, and they see this recently, this last year, cannot get out, it's frightening, just like the one we had 2008. If we're not going to take any responsibility of correcting this, and I believe there is a way to take on all the new as well as the old, that metal mesh behind there. If you looked at the documents, it proved itself in many different ways. If we don't try these things, we're not going to solve the problem, and it's going to go on and on and on. You can move bus shelters back, forward, backwards, so it's still, it involves with people who cannot get out the back. And we have a lot of concern on that. And I just want you to know, Chairman, as well as Mayor Mayor Goodman, as well as you, Mayor, this is going to be continuously people trapped in that bus shelter, and we're going to continue to not put our money where our mouth is to get the best engineers to solve the problem. I already know 2 of them in California said, we offered our service, but they wouldn't take it because it cost too much. When did the cost of human life or injury to people who did nothing to nobody but sit at that bus shelter enclosed with metal cage-like? So I brought you this attention, Chairman, as well as Mayor Carol Goodman, as well as Mayor Lee, that if we don't solve this problem and say we don't have the money, then I leave this one particular reminder. This thing is, as you see it, you got it with you, can solve the problem. Somebody says, well, the screen keeps the sun out. I'd rather stand there and know I'm safe in that way than I know that I'm not afraid. So again, as I say, please take this very seriously, because if you don't try something, you never ask my opinion, nobody in the RTC, they keep saying he's complaining. I'm complaining because I'm compassionate like you are compassionate with life. If we don't do that, then we never solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christoph. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? We'll close this portion of public comment. I will move to go into closed session pursuant to NRS 288.220. Motion on the floor. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.